Earnestly podcast coming to you on October 5th, 2021. Again, I apologize for the white wall back here. We're going to at some point fix it. Now, you might ask yourself, other podcasts you're on, I noticed you always have a backdrop, a digital backdrop. And the reason that it works out is that when I do my podcast with guests on Skype, Skype has the ability to has the ability to make you choose. You can put a background behind, so that comes out in the back. But I do my solo podcast. Unfortunately, I do this either on QuickTime or just on the hardware computer. And unfortunately, I don't have a green screen program to implement something of that nature. So I still have to at some point get something to kind of make this look palatable, because I hate having this behind. I don't like it at all. Part of the reason why I stopped doing videos a little while, because it was kind of dull, honestly. But anyway, we're here. I'm very tired. And quick note. Oh, got a little text here. No, that's some ESPN. Sorry about that. You notice that the Football is Awesome podcast that I do every Wednesday now, that'll be coming out a day later because of scheduling issues. My son had to stay from school today. Normally, I record most of those other segments of that podcast on Tuesdays. Well, today, shouldn't matter. But I wasn't able to do that today because of my son being home from school because he was sick. So we're going to record those segments probably on Thursday and then put out the podcast right after that, after I record the other segments. I did record already one segment for the show, so hopefully hopefully I get another couple segments done, and then we can put it on Thursday for everybody else to hear. But the good thing about that is that also, when I do the solo pods like they hear now, I'm able to talk about other things outside of football, outside of sports, because you guys are here for everything. You guys are here for the variety of issues I like to talk about, not just football. Although I'm enjoying the football season. It's been a rough couple of weeks for me too, especially family, family stuff and marital stuff and kids have been difficult lately, and but that's part of the gig, what you sign up for. You know what I mean? But marriage has been kind of tough lately. We're working on it, of course. Not getting divorced, relax. Not getting divorced, but like I said, it's not easy. It's a lot of work, and it's been a lot on my plate lately too, especially obviously with COVID going on and so many things around us going on, and the things you just have to keep a focus and a balance, and make sure your mental health is in the right place. And again, the last 2 years I've been really prioritizing that in ways I didn't before, So anyway, and another thing too, also that's been really bugging me, especially the last week or so, if you found that story about the missing college student in Orlando, Mia Mercano, who unfortunately was found. Her body was found this weekend. A lot of people don't know this. I didn't really make a big deal about this either on social media, but she is actually her family, should I say her father, is a friend, a close friend, a close relative, I think actually really, of my stepfather's. I knew her father, although I haven't seen him in years, but I knew him growing up. And when I heard that story break, obviously it hit closer to home. I mean, I didn't know her personally, because I don't think I've seen that family in about 15, 20 years, to be honest with you. But it doesn't matter whether or not I've seen it or not. It's still a tragedy nonetheless. I can't even imagine what he's going through. If you ever seen the story about what happened, basically, she was supposedly was supposed to fly down from Orlando to Fort Lauderdale last Friday. She was heard from on that Friday at 5:00. She went to her apartment. The maintenance person that was working on the property, who supposedly had been harassing her for weeks on end leading up to that, allegedly supposedly kidnapped her, and we're assuming that he's the one that killed her. He was later found to have committed suicide, I think, a few days later, probably because he knew that he had a lot of heat on him. She was found in another property that he worked at also too, as a maintenance guy as well. It's this awful story. It's an awful story. And for me personally, like, I couldn't even get away from it, because forget the fact it was on the news and stuff, but because all the family I still do follow, on social media, that were posting things to find, especially in the Caribbean community where it's very tight knit, everybody knows everybody. everybody was posting stuff on social media to search for her and to pray for her and whatnot, and vigils and all that. So you couldn't get away from the story at all. I couldn't get away from the story at all. And that's not I didn't want to anyway. It's just that it was such a tragic story. I was always reminded that, and as a father, and I can't imagine what her dad's going through right now. I honestly can't imagine. The piece of shit, of course, killed himself. Committed suicide. We got to protect our girls, man. We got to protect our women. Seriously, protect our women. We can obviously get into a gun debate about protection and the ability to protect. And obviously, I stand on guns. I'm not a gun guy, but I am pro 2A. I think people should have the ability to protect themselves. I think the real argument to me is mostly about what kind of guns in the streets and regulation and all that. That we can have a discussion on. But in terms of having the ability to protect yourselves, especially women, especially black women, should have the ability to protect themselves. So it's a very sad story. It was very depressing. It definitely brought down the mood. My parents were down about that. They've known the family for years, especially too. So rest in peace, Mia, of course. I'd say get justice, but the guy that the lone suspect has killed himself. I guess that's some justice to some degree, but no. Anyway, there's no way to move out of the story here real quick. But last week also, Florida's minimum wage went into effect. If you guys know, if you live in Florida, of course, you would know that last year, there was a provision, to raise minimum wage, and it was approved. It's surprising too because of the fact that a lot of people look at Florida as a red state, as a more conservative state, and most conservatives I know are against the idea of raising minimum wage. Especially when raising the wage to $15 an hour. And now the wage hike is going to continue to increase $1 a year until 2026 when it hits $15 an hour. So obviously this has obviously been a very controversial topic with especially politically speaking, who's for it, who's against it. Obviously more conservatives are against the idea of raises going higher. Most liberals are for it. It's a political thing, obviously. Let me get my hat on real quick. Hold on a second. There you go. Yeah. So here's from my stance, and everybody those listening to this podcast know my political stance is it's pretty moderate. My background came from a more conservative background, and as I've gotten older, I've been a little more on the progress in certain ways, in certain specters of the political spectrum. I was always against the wage going up because I was fed this idea that if minimum wage goes up, then what's going to happen is that costs will go up as well too. And for many years, up until recently, probably up until the last couple of years, I was always on that same tribe. Like, that now wages to stay, we should not raise the wage too high. And I guess really the number is $15 an hour. That's the number really being debated, really. That's the barometer number. And as I got older, I started realizing that, it's funny, like we keep hearing that, but then wages go up anyway, even when cost goes up anyway, even when wages stay stagnant. So at some point you start thinking to yourself, okay, well, you keep telling me that costs will go up if wage goes up, but cost is still going up with wage staying stagnant. So at some point you have to look at yourself and say, well, is this bullshit? You feeding me here? So I did vote for the wage to go up because at this point, no one's given a plan as to counter rising costs. We keep hearing the same tripe all the time that you shouldn't raise the wages because then the cost goes up. Okay, cool story. But then you don't have a clue or have any idea of how to counter rising costs. Because costs are rising, for the record, and wages stay stagnant. You know what I'm saying? So I did vote for the wage to go up. I don't know if $15 an hour is the demarcation. I don't know if it's $10 an hour. I don't know what it is. But I do know that if you're going to continue rising wages, rising costs, then at some point we need to balance out with wages. Now obviously, my attitude during the that election last year was, okay, well, if we're gonna do this, well, we keep hearing this, the cost is gonna go up if wage goes up, then let's fuck around and find out, because you keep saying it, but let's see if it's so, rather than just predict something's gonna happen. Let the story play out and see if that is the case. So I did vote for it, and now as of right now, we're $10 an hour right now, and it'll go up $1 every year until 2026. Took us $15 an hour. So it's strange though, because like Florida is looked at as a mostly leaning conservative state, but because Florida also has become more progressive in policy. Like wage going up, you got medical marijuana is a thing now, and we're getting closer to I believe in the next couple of years we're going to be recreational marijuana will be allowed in the state. It's a lot of things that progressive ideas that have been starting to come through the filter, politically speaking, in the last decade or so. But yet Democrats can't win an election here in Florida. It's strange. It's really strange. And to me, that's a Democratic Party problem. That's a messaging problem, really, more than anything else. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody lives down here in South Florida. Now, granted, it is mostly blue in these three counties here, Broward, Dade, and Palm Beach. But, you can't tell me that the entire state is all conservative, Bible Belt, evangelical people. No. There's a lot of people who just don't like the Democratic Party because of a lot of different reasons. They may make this a political episode here, but it's more about the minimum wage here. But at the same time, it's strange. It is strange that the wage, minimum wage has been approved and it's going up now, and yet we're still kind of a red-ish state, if you will. I don't know. It's weird. To me, that's a Democratic Party problem, and it reflects on my next topic here. Andrew Yang officially left he actually left the party a few weeks ago. He actually released a statement finally discussing such leaving the party on his blog yesterday. I'll read a piece of his blog about why he left explaining why he left the party. If I can find this right here, 1 second. Now it's weird because Andrew Yang actually was the guy I actually wanted to actually win the presidency in 2020. That was the guy I supported. Now the thing is though, because I can't vote in the primaries because I'm a Democrat. I'm an MPA. I couldn't vote in the primaries anyway, so I couldn't vote for him unless I was a Democrat. I did consider actually becoming a Democrat just to vote in the primaries, but it wouldn't matter. He got knocked out the first caucus anyway in Iowa, so it didn't really matter. But he's basically the party because he believes that the two-party system is stuck, and it can be more honest about politics and politicians if we're not constrained by membership of a Democrat. He also says that, quote, "I believe I can reach more people who are outside the system more effectively. I feel more independent." Now, Andrew Yang's a bit of a strange guy, but I do like the fact he's not one of those Trump. Okay, we get it. You don't like Trump, but we need to talk about issues. And at least Andrew Yang, for the most part, based on his presentation, during the presidential primaries last year, and then even in New York, the bit for mayor in New York, he at least addressed his issues. He's also big on the UBI, universal basic income. Something that I believe in now as I've studied this in the last couple of years. He seems to be a very authentic guy. Obviously, not very popular in the Democratic Party, I guess. And certainly a lot of criticism within the party with him leaving, as in why he's leaving and all that. But again, the two-party system is not. The two-party system it's shit. It really is. It's a shit. Because you're for people. It's funny. I had a friend of mine that got mad at me the other day because obviously there's a lot of people who don't like Joe Biden, and this person came to my face yeah, riding with Biden, huh? Riding Biden. And I'm like, you do understand that this is part of the problem because again, you left me with two people to vote for: Donald Trump or Joe Biden. Okay. Obviously, I could vote third party, but I'm not going to do that because it's a waste of vote, in my opinion, right now. Okay? So don't get mad at me for voting for someone that you didn't want to win. Get mad at the system. Okay? Get mad at the system. The system sucks. You know, we really should have 5 or 6 parties in this country, to be honest with you. Like, the Democratic Party alone could splinter into 4 different factions. The GOP could go right now, go down the middle, honestly. You know? So, Andrew, I respect what Andrew Yang's doing, honestly. I really do, because I'm a Democrat. I have a lot of issues with the Democratic Party. Have I voted for Democrats in the last couple elections? Yes, I have. But is that something I'm not this Democrat liberal, like, flag waving, you know, guy that's like, Democrats are bust. No. I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy at all. I listen to the issues. You know what I'm saying? Now, Democrats have spoken to me on the issues I care about mostly, in comparison to Republicans, and I say that's somebody who was a former Republican. Just for the record, you forget that left the party in 2008. So, but I also think it's important to listen to both sides, you know, of the aisle. You may hate it. You know, I think it's important to listen to everything. You know, take in information. That way, when you react, it's going to replace the knowledge. I listen to a couple conservative commentators. You know, people with this podcast may not like what I'm going to say. I do listen to Clay Travis once in a while. I listen to Jason Whitlock once in a while, and I do that because I want to hear the perspective first. I listen to Ben Shapiro once in a while. You know, I also listen to left wing, Bill Maher's and the John Olivers of the world. I listen to, you know, Posse America. I take intake information across the board. You know, so a lot of it's bullshit, a lot of it's not. You know, it's important to hear what's out there, so that way when you are, if you're able to argue a position or a policy or a subject, you are prepared. You're well prepared. You know, now there are people obviously who are there who are grifters and whatnot, and you if you really dig properly, you can filter out the bullshit. There is that point there where you can filter out the bullshit. But otherwise, you know, it's important to listen to both sides. Listen to what's going. Keep an ear out what's going on out there. You know, like when Ben Shapiro appeared on Bill Maher like a couple weeks ago, a month and a half, 2 months ago. I was excited to see that episode because I wanted to hear what he had to say. You know, Ben Shapiro. I don't agree with a lot of shit Ben Shapiro says, but he's also a smart guy. You know, Jason Whitlock says a lot of dumb shit, but once in a while he'll hit something that makes sense. You know, Clay Travis says a lot of dumb shit, but once in a while he'll hit the mark. Like today on this podcast alone, he was talking about Urban Meyer, which I get in a second. And he knocked down the park on the Urban Meyer situation about what's going on with him and Urban Meyer, which is actually my next topic here, Urban Meyer. He's on the fire now because he was filmed at his sports bar, and it was I guess a college student, a woman, whatever it was, that was, and I'm going to use a quotation here because grinding on him. Which, if you look at the video, you can, I don't know if I call it grinding necessarily. I think this whole thing is being made as a bigger deal. I think people make it a big deal because Urban Meyer is not very well liked. He's a hypocrite. His history says something. When he gets into challenges, he seems to just push it away and quit, like he did in Florida, like he did in Utah, Ohio State, the whole nine. And people think he's going to quit in the Jaguars this year or next year. It's only 4 games into his tenure in Jacksonville. But I think the argument, I think the whole situation about this alone, about this college student that was grinding on him, which honestly, okay, that's an issue to him and his wife Shelly. And also I find it gross that people are going to sit there and going to tag his wife Shelly into on social media. Hey, look what your husband's doing. There's something gross about that. Like even though I'm not even defending Urban Meyer. I don't even like the guy. But there's something gross about that. The people will sit there and actually just tag people. Tag his wife. It's like you want the drama. That's the bad part about social media. That's why I didn't mind that social media went down yesterday. That's why I didn't mind Facebook went down yesterday for a little bit. Because while I do podcasts and write and all that, and obviously social media is a big tool I use to get my workout, you know, I'll be honest with you. If I didn't have this podcast and I didn't have these other things I do to put my workout, I probably wouldn't be on social media at all. I find more comfort as I get older into being in my own little world. Just take care of my own bubble, my kids, my wife, my family, my mom, dad, and all that. You know, the Urban Meyer thing is stupid because, like, was it messed up what he did? I guess, but then again, I don't even know if he wasn't even the one instigating or pushing the issue. It was this girl this woman, who was, moving up into him, And I think it's being made a bigger deal because it's Urban Meyer, and he's disliked, and he's a hypocrite, and this and that. He says one thing and preaches another and all that. But if Urban Meyer was 4-0, if Urban Meyer was Mike Tomlin or some well-liked coach, if he was Sean McVay, no one make a big deal about that. I swear to God, no one make a big deal about that. We make a big deal because it's Urban Meyer and he's not liked. It's that simple. It's really that simple. Not a big deal. The only people that matter in the day in this story is his wife Shelley and his family. That is it. I find this whole thing gross. That I'm gonna sit there with my cell phone and literally just sit there and just film you because I'm gonna gotcha and send it to his wife. It's disgusting to me. To me, it feels gross. Bottom line, if you're in public, be aware what's going on. People are doing this now, filming. And look, I don't mind if you're filming something that's something that, like, for example, if there's like a cop or somebody hurting someone, and that could be used as evidence later on. Yeah, I can understand film that, but filming some random Urban Meyer situation where some random college kid decides to grind up on him, stupid. It's stupid and it's just a waste of time. I said social media social media is brought the worst in people too. Again, that's why I didn't mind. It was a little annoying at times. I didn't mind Facebook and Instagram being out yesterday, the outage. Now, is it a conspiracy? Could be. Obviously, you had the whistleblower that came on 60 Minutes this past Sunday, and literally 24 hours later or less than that, you have the outage for 6 hours. It was weird being on Twitter because everybody else is on Twitter, and I'm on Twitter, of course, and I prefer Twitter or Facebook, to be honest with you. I actually miss Instagram. Instagram was the one port I did not, like not being part of. But so I really miss Instagram more than anything else. So, okay, last couple things I get out of here. Bomani Jones, future ESPN looks murky. Apparently, his contract expires in March, and the word is, according to Awful Announcing, that he may not be resign his contract with ESPN. ESPN is changing, man. And to be honest with you, Bomani Jones' podcast, The Right Time, is the only podcast that I listen to that's on their platform. Like, obviously, Dan Le Batard's gone. I'm a Dan Le Batard diehard. Listen to his show on, obviously on podcasts. He has his own media company, Metal Art Media. I see Bomani probably going there. And Bomani's right now the last guy I listen to. I care about on ESPN. I don't watch any ESPN programming other than PTI. That's it. And PTI is hit or miss for me sometimes. Depends on if I'm in the mood to watch it. But Bomani, another guy that's probably outgrowing ESPN too. Honestly, you've seen all these changes in the last 5 years of these major 6 years really, from Bill Simmons in 2015 to Colin Cowherd the same year, and you see all these major stars go elsewhere. ESPN is changing their dynamic. They, obviously that they believe that the full network is bigger than the personalities. I understand that logic, but I don't find ESPN as watchable either today. I only watch ESPN literally for the games. I don't watch. I used to watch ESPN programming all the time, and now I don't watch First Take anymore. I'm not really feeling the Stephen A. Smith show without Max. I said a couple weeks ago that it was okay, but as I continued watching the last couple weeks, I really haven't enjoyed it. Then you have the obviously the other shows that the Jamel Hill left there too, and Michael Smith left there also too. A lot of people I used to really enjoy on there, they're gone, and I got Bomani, the last guy there that I really care about, and he's gonna be leaving there too, assuming that this plays out. Yeah, I'm good on ESPN at this point. I'm good on the programming, and I don't listen to any podcast either, other than Bomani's podcast. That's it. So, it is what it is. But obviously, I expect him to join with Le Batard. That'd be a good fit because Le Batard is growing his media platform, of course, and there's a lot of room for him to grow there. I think Bomani could be himself, especially too, outside of the ESPN shackles. Honestly, ESPN is just overrated at this point now. So you don't need ESPN. Once you establish yourself, you don't need ESPN anymore. Bomani's at that point now; he doesn't need it. So. Hope he does leave. I hope he does what is right for him first. But at the end of the day, I hope he does leave and goes somewhere else where he can truly be appreciated and whatnot. They canceled this show High Noon a couple years ago, and that sucked because I actually enjoyed that show. I don't know. So hopefully he makes the right choice for himself. But I think he's done ESPN. All right, final thing here. Speaking of ESPN, last week was the 20th anniversary of PTI. As I mentioned PTI a little while ago. I started watching a documentary on PTI. I got to finish it tonight, actually, when I have this podcast. PTI was actually one of my favorite shows. It was actually a trend-setting show. That kind of what really was the first show that launched a true embrace debate era of ESPN. Now, back then, and PTI is probably still today, is still more authentic than any other debate show we've had in the last 20 years. Even more than First Take or on Undisputed, any of those shows. Because it's two guys that have worked together for many decades, Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser, and, sorry about that. It seems like one of the only authentic shows on ESPN has left. I mean, how long the show's going to go? Who knows? But watching the show develop, they go behind the story documentary on ESPN Plus, how the concept came up, and and through the years, and you had the Bill Simmons part of the show, the Dan Labertard part of the show, whatnot. It's a fascinating look at a show that has stood the test of time, and today still matters. I mean, I don't watch it every week, every day, but I do that. If there's any show on ESPN, I still check in on mostly. It's PTI. I don't listen to daily sports radio the way I used to outside Dan Labertard and maybe a few other podcasts, but PTI is one of the only ones left that I really, really enjoy. To me, PTI was the best part of PTI too. It took all the best news of the day into 30 minutes really, but it's 21, 22 minutes of content, and the debate back and forth for 2 minutes. It's fantastic. It's fantastic television, fantastic radio too. To be honest with you, Kornheiser's great what he does. Wilbon's great what he does, and it's a great show. It's a great show, and I'm glad I celebrated it. I don't know how much longer it's going to last, because at some point, what ESPN doing what they're doing now, who knows? I mean, they're cutting everybody at this point. I mean, outside Stephen A. Smith and Mike Greenberg. So anyway, all right, I'm gonna go sleep. I'm tired. I'm on Twitter, EJ7, Ernest Bigger Podcast, all podcast catchers. YouTube page, Ernest EJ Christian on YouTube. Check out the YouTube page especially, because I'm gonna be doing a lot more work on YouTube going forward. So till then, love you guys, kisses, take care, and